Welcome to another edition of Talking Politics with Dotun Oladipo. I am your regular host, Dotun Oladipo, the managing editor of The Eagle Online, operating at www.theeagleonline.com.ng. As a starter and as a reminder, don't forget that we already have a working relationship with a YouTube channel, Newsbreak.ng. As you watch us on Talking Politics with Dotun Oladipo, so also should you join us on Newsbreak.ng for up-to-date information on happenings around the world. Today, on this edition of Talking Politics with Dotun Oladipo, I will be interacting with a very senior colleague, an experienced journalist. I won't call him a veteran because we now take that as something very negative, but very experienced. And at present is the managing editor of Newsbreak.ng. Please welcome with me, Mr. Bamidele Johnson.
Good evening, Dotun. Good evening, viewers.
You are welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us. A lot is happening on the political scene in Nigeria now as we prepare for the 2023 elections. And very interesting times we are in with both the serious and unserious. The issues that can make you to cry and the ones that will make you to fall from your chair with laughter. Starting on a general note now, for me, I will say the banters around I've really enjoyed. What's your own?
Well, you have to say that we have a flood of things that should make us laugh. And, you know, I've seen a lot of people laugh. And I've seen things that I've laughed at. Just yesterday, the sartorial preference of the running mate to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the APC. And I'm talking about Alhaji Shettima, the former governor of Borno State, drew a lot of reactions. In most cases, very, very comical. And if you look at his sartorial preference when he went to the MBA conference, the opening of the MBA conference, in my view, and apologies if I'm offending anyone, he looked like some illegal migrant thrown off a ship and who got clothes from good Samaritans. So we've had all kinds of things, including made-up things by rival camps to excite other people and in the hope that they will persuade those who may want to vote for them to vote against them. A lot of things to laugh at, a lot of things also to make us really, 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 really sad and inspire more reflections. Because I think that most of the presidential candidates, quite unfortunately, are trading on fantasies. And we've seen that before. Promises, extravagant ones, which will never be fulfilled, and you get explanations of paucity of funds, of things being so damaged that they will require a lifetime to fix, and all of that. I'm not assuming that national development is a 2-minute noodle. No, I am not. But I will assume that those making promises will have had sufficient time to look at the situation and make more realistic promises instead of nudging people to begin to fantasize about what they will do. Usually what you find is the ruling party, and that was my view in 2015, that the PDP was hawking fallacies of development. The APC, which then was the opposition party, was also hawking fantasies. And I I'm very persuaded right now that it is the same thing that is going on. Plenty of fantasies and fallacies put out there for sale and being hawked very feverishly. And unfortunately, we have an unquestioning population that easily laps up these things. Fortunately, we need to be a lot more critical.
Yes, maybe on this issue of the vice presidential candidate, I found it very comical too. The response of that man who speaks for the APC Presidential Campaign Council, Festus Keyamo, this morning. And I was wondering, we had some comic relief yesterday, and then you are bringing your own photograph into the social media space to also, and then the Shettima challenge has started. I don't know if you have seen that.
Well, the Shettima challenge, I honestly doubt is one that many people want to undertake, because except if you want to make yourself some sort of clown and earn some popularity or notoriety depending on what side of the bench you sit, I don't think that is what any serious person would want to undertake. Shettima, I think, and I was surprised because he'd worked in a bank before, became governor. I think after working in a bank, he got used to Babariga and all of that and forgot
And no suit at all.
how you look in a suit. So he came across, and there's no, I don't think it actually affects how bright he is, but he projects him as someone with near zero sartorial taste. Quite unfortunately. Whatever Keyamo may want to say, he does not change nothing. It was a mishap. It was a fashion mishap. Let us take it.
Because there are some people already comparing with the sitting vice president in terms of outlook and saying, how do we project this man to the world if he goes to represent us?
Well, you have to project him the way he is if he refuses to change and say that is his style, which will be laughable. But if you compare him with the current vice president, well, I think is a more appearance conscious person. Shettima may be less so, and even his presidential candidate, Asiwaju Tinubu, I also don't think is a particularly fashion conscious guy. But their handlers will have to really work on them and get them to change their orientation in terms of fashion. What you cannot accuse Shettima of, as per what he wore yesterday, is that you can't claim that those things he wore needed shoehorn to get into. They were sufficiently loose that if he weighed 200 kg, they will still look oversized. Quite sadly, it was, really comical, and I really wonder how his kids, will view their dad's appearance. And the footwear was another thing. The footwear was another thing. It was like I said, what is this? And master parties on the internet and all kinds of mysterious people, and you can't blame them because you gave them the ammunition to shoot at you.
Actually, I had a good laugh yesterday.
Yeah.
I had a very good laugh.
I didn't see the thing on time, so by the time I saw it and I was looking at the footwear shaped like a canoe, I said, did they make this man wear this at gunpoint or something? Because I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have.
Anyway, we had one other one that I also found very not so comical because of the import and the implication. That was the Archbishop challenge after his
Tinubu's declaration.
After he was unveiled, and to me it appears like for every opportunity we have as Nigerians, especially on the social media, we make light of issues, and some people have argued really that is why we are living long in Nigeria, despite all the gloom, all the doom around us. And I'm wondering how many more of those challenges are we going to have? Because for me, I think it keeps the environment sane and going, especially for people who are battling serious economic issues.
Also, the truth of the matter is, we have valid reasons to have enormous appetite for comedy. There is so much doom and gloom around us that if we decide or make the mistake of thinking that everything is what we must approach with seriousness, it's safe to say we will suffer collective mental meltdown. Nobody wants to do that because our architecture as a society isn't one that supports the treatment or even acknowledgement of mental health. So anything that could provide relief or that could be preventive of mental ill health should be embraced. There are certain people who find football their escape, some others alcohol, some others religion, some others other activities. Let them embrace it. I know that in private moments, people hang back and think very seriously about issues in the country. They may not go out and announce or seek an audience for what their thoughts are. When they go out, they want to, especially on the social networking sites, they want to see things that brighten their mood, not or focus on things that brighten their mood, not things that will drive them down into the hole. People have a right to laugh. People are entitled to laugh because they have had enormous doses of very depressing things. Where are you going to look at that you find plenty of sunshine? Not many. COVID-19 came with its intervention and began to squeeze everybody. Individuals, organizations, the government.
Yeah.
We got out of that. We got into the Russia-Ukraine thing. And the economy went into a tailspin. The finance minister announced that we are on choppy waters. If people focus only on these things, I'm telling you, our very threadbare mental health infrastructure will be overwhelmed in 1 minute. Will be overwhelmed. So we have things that make us jump from 1 to 10 in a few minutes, and humor is one of those things.
Huge dose at that. Very huge.
Important.
Well, with this now, I think we should then begin to think of what happens to us next year. Before now, people have been looking at maybe 4 candidates. Some will say 3. But a few things have happened in the last few days, especially in the New Nigeria People's Party, with the 2 dominant figures there disagreeing largely, meaning that that party can be considered as dead on arrival.
Well,
What do you
my
make of the
assessment
atmosphere?
of the platform on which Kwankwaso pretends to be running, and I'm saying pretends to be running because I think he's pretending to be running. Whatever Galadima may say, if Galadima, who happens to be some really big figure on that platform, announced when the platform came alive that he has the capacity to forge a presidential election winning coalition within a few months, it should be taken as some very comical thing. Very comical thing. It's like me saying that in 3 months, with my big belly, if I jog sufficiently and I go to spa with boxers who will most probably leave my face battered, I can go and take on a heavyweight champion. I will be kidding. Because the two of those platforms, we have to understand it, are behemoths. There is a reason that those who represent them are considered very, very powerful, very, very influential. They've invested over the years in building networks, building alliances, in making friends, and all of that. And they most likely have more financial resources than Kwankwaso or Peter Obi. I hear Peter Obi's people say structure does not matter, that they are a movement. That something is a movement does not necessarily make it stronger than a party. It's like somebody saying his religion is not, his faith is not a religion. It is a way of life. That something is a way of life doesn't necessarily make it better. Drunkenness is a way of life. Compulsive gambling is a way of life. I don't think we aspire to such things. So I do not think there is a 4-horse race. I actually think there is a 2-horse race. And if it gets to a 3-horse race, this is my honest opinion, Peter Obi's LP will finish a distant 5th in a 3-horse race.
So who are those that will be in between?
No in between, a 3-horse race, because I don't think Kwankwaso is there. Kwankwaso, even on TV, I think on Arise, said if he wasn't running, he would have preferred a Tinubu. I really do not understand that. You are just sounding like a vassal. I do not understand that. If he wasn't running, he would have preferred a Tinubu. That is some concession of defeat to Tinubu. Almost
already?
Probably, yeah. Almost probably okay.
Before the election.
Yeah, so I really do not consider him. Peter Obi has more gravitas than Kwankwaso, at least based on what we've seen on social media platforms, and based on the fact that his people, with some justification, think that the zone should produce a president. And you have to understand why they are rallying around him. I don't think Kwankwaso has that. Nobody is thinking that, okay, he's a northerner, he should be the candidate, and he should fly the flag of the north. I don't think anybody thinks that way. I do not think. Well, yeah, maybe in his local government, around his friends and family and all of that, in his local mosque, yeah, you could find people who think so. But on a large scale, certainly not. So Peter Obi, I will put along with the two behemoths, but Peter Obi is going to finish a distant 5th.
Are you not scared that already that this race is becoming religious and ethnic in nature? We are not talking about the issues. We are talking about the Muslim ticket. We are talking about the Southeast saying it is our turn to produce, the North saying, well, the structure puts it back in our place, and then the Southwest saying, our local.
Well, let me say something. Politics, by definition, is divisive. Politics is called partisan for a reason. You don't have objective politics. You have partisan politics. What that says is that politics is driven by sentiments. Pure sentiments. And the sentiments could be religious, they could be ethnic, they could be a combination of both, could be business, there could be things to do around the family, things to do around a section of a country, things to do around so many things that aren't purely objective. That said, it is sad that I have to say, to answer your question directly, I am extremely scared the way it is going on. Before we started this show, I was talking to you about how ethnicity smashed up Rwanda in the 90s and led to the genocide. And in those days, the internet wasn't a thing around here.
Yeah.
What they had was radio, a particular radio station established by Felicien Kabuga, which incited people. Today, you can disseminate information faster and to a bigger number of people within minutes, and there is zero control. So unscrupulous people minded not to use their discretion, will use stuff that are made up, stuff that are true and completely designed to incite, or use narrative supplements of exaggeration, of hyperbole, of half-truths, outright lies, in gaining advantage over the rival camps. And I think all the camps are guilty of what I'm talking about. Quite unfortunately, we think that we are fighting some war that we are justified to fight, and that we are taking on the elite. But the elite easily will hop on a plane to Seychelles, to Vanuatu, to Dominican Republic, to Bermuda Republic. The underprivileged class will be struggling to get to Republic of Benin. Before you get there, nasty things may happen. Dislocations of all sorts, demographic, will happen. So if people don't restrain themselves, if they get too drunk on the use of ethnicity and religion to push votes or to seek or to sell their candidates, we will have a massive explosion, or we may have a massive explosion. Really a conflagration from which we may struggle to recover, or from which we may never recover. Discretion is important. You know, I find it funny when people say, it's the politicians that divide us. They are the ones using ethnicity and religion. But they may be supplying the rhythm to which we dance. But we dance so vigorously to those rhythms, and in some cases go to get additional musical equipment and probably bigger capacity speakers to amplify the rhythms, take it to other people, and then the other people begin to dance. Even those who are initially unreached, they will then begin to dance vigorously, and then, you know, all kinds of things will be happening. This season will have a carousel of lies, a carousel of hate, promoted very frenziedly in the hope that it will give them advantage. The truth is, the politicians, in my view, are far less guilty than we are, because we are the amplifiers of the very negative things that we accuse the politicians of using.
Yes, but it's amazing that despite what we believe in Nigeria, that we are enlightened, a lot of these issues keep coming up. How do we get out of them? Because the way Nigeria is now, especially considering the fact that even the government has said, see, we can't match what we need to run the economy. Debt ratio to what we generate and all the rest. And then Nigerians are still talking about these issues that really do not affect our survival directly. I mean, it's
Well,
how do we do it?
I think the luckiest human being alive is the Nigerian politician. He doesn't need to sell any well thought out plan. He does not. He or she does not. He needs to sell some skeletal thing to people. And then, as toppings, use religion and ethnicity. Because he or she, Nigerian politician, understands that we were raised on that diet. And when you throw a bone to a dog, you know how the dog reacts. The dog is gleeful, the dog is drunk on the chance of chewing up the bone and feeling all right, as we say on the street. So what the politician does is to say a lot less. And we, quite unfortunately, we actually do not have the brain to process the deep things. We do not. We just like the very rudimentary things. I think when you said we are considered enlightened, it is very delusional. It is a self-assessment that has no basis, absolutely no basis. When you go, I'm sorry to use this analogy, drinking dens, go on social media platforms and you see what subjects excite us the most, you would discover that rigor isn't one of our strong points. So when the politician understands that rigor isn't your strong point, the politician is simply going to bring things that you make into easily digestible bits. You don't want big things that people will now be struggling to chew. You just give them, a few things. Oh yeah, begin to chew on this one. I know that when you find this one easy to chew, you ask for more, and the politician throws a lot more at you. So the politician understands that. The politician also has been raised in this environment. He knows that if, there was a time I was following Kingsley Moalu on Twitter. And my brother, this guy was making plenty of sense to people of my education, people of my profile. You understand? Mm-hmm. One of the mistakes we make in Nigeria is to assume that people of our profile are the only people in Nigeria. We are not the only people. There are layers like onions. Like onions have layers. There are layers in this society. And those who vote the most do not understand the language that people like Moalu speak. You understand? They do not understand it. Because the guy goes there, and I think it's a problem for him too, speaking like he's speaking to the United Nations General Assembly. That isn't the language we speak to us. That isn't the language. But the cleverer politicians know that that isn't the language. They also know that we don't want things that will, require us to be engaging our brains a lot and all of that. We just want to be told, oh, we will fix the roads, we will create the jobs, we will give you this, give you that. How? No. Show us a path through which you will reach those goals.
The roadmap.
We do not ask. So they don't provide. They grew up here. They were raised there. Even those who grew up abroad, once they come here, They are contaminated. Because they know if they start speaking the kind of things they say abroad, they are going nowhere. They are simply going nowhere. So maybe, and I think that is what it is, there is a deliberate, or there has been some deliberate attempt to ensure that we remain sufficiently illiterate in civic matters so that we are not able to ask the right questions, we are not able to demand what we should, the things that should benefit us, so we don't have a common goal. So since you don't have a common goal, you now reach out to group interest, ethnic, say, oh, this is the turn of the Southwest. I do not think, I've never thought that somebody from the Southwest represents my interest. Certainly not Tinubu. I'm really sorry to be saying this. Certainly not Tinubu. He doesn't represent. I don't even remember where we sat down, or there was some representation from some people, and they sat down and said, yeah, we are bringing the views of this, the various strata of the society, and we have agreed that this is the direction to go. No, he has his own agenda, which I think aligns with the agenda of his own friends, family, acquaintances, acolytes, and all of that. There isn't some Southwest agenda. Let us forget about that. I'm persuaded there isn't any. And I think what should be clear to a lot of people who have been sold northern, southeastern, south-south agenda, southwestern agenda, is to check the records of those who claim to have represented those regions in the past. Since 1999, we have been having governors, legislators at both the national and the subnational levels, local government chairmen, all from our various states and localities. I don't think we can claim that they've shown more care than those who are brought by the military from elsewhere to come and run the. I don't think so. I don't think so. We've seen governors in Plateau State. Dariye is a Plateau man. Dariye, we know what he did to Plateau State. If ethnicity does anything, I don't think it insulates people from stealing their own people's funds. I do not think so. Jolly Nyame is from his state. He gulped on their money. Ibori is from there. Is from the south. Alami Asia, and those ones have been convicted. There are others who have not been convicted now. They've been doing the same. They will keep doing the same. So what that says is that somebody sharing the same faith with you, somebody sharing the same ethnicity with you, that offers no guarantee that your interests are protected. They have self-interests that are sold as those of the collective. And unfortunately, we buy the lies we are told wholesale. Very sad.
How do we move away from this? Because that's the main issue to attend to now as we move towards 2023.
Well, in my private moments, I think of ways through which we can get off this jam, and I can't claim to have found any. Because when you look at this one, you see some flaw here, you see the other flaw here, you see the other flaw here. Well, no system is perfect. But also, I'll be very honest with you. This is my view. I really doubt if Western style democracy is going to get out of this jam. We need, in my view, a fusion of elements of Western democracy with some elements of fairly authoritarian models to get us out of this thing. If we think that we will, and I think it's alien to our culture.
Very obvious now.
I think we are monarchists, so we look at some president, the guy you think is not somebody you should even challenge, is not somebody you should criticize, like a monarch. So easily difficult. You see people kneeling down before governors. People, someone has declared his interest to run for the chairmanship of a local government. From the day of declaration, he's been my chair, my honorable. The person has won election, my incoming, my incoming. Really servile way of dealing with things. So if we have this mentality, I do not think there is a chance that we will get out of this jam very quickly. There has to be some single-mindedness, and there has to be some steel behind it. There have been models that have delivered, including the Chinese model. And if you heard Lee Kuan Yew, there was some interview of his that he said he had to fight corruption, he had to break into people's home at night. It wasn't the most fantastic of things to do, but he had a job to do. And he did, and he stamped graft out in that place. Yeah, I understand that peculiar situation, the ethnicity, okay, they are chasing this man is because he's Yoruba. But on our own, we have to decide what we want. We blame our leaders, but we make our leaders in our own image. We elect people who are like us. We can blame the leaders for, but it is people like us that we elect. If somebody comes and says, on this street, when I become local government chairman, I'm going to give laptops to every kid in this place. I'm going to start tarring your roads. I'm going to ask for a little more tax because I need to fix the schools and all of that. And I'm not going to be bringing rice to your house when it's Christmas or rams to your house when it's
Salah.
Salah. You see, who would help? Now that one we want chop. Yep. So we have to choose. If people are spending tons of money to win elections, I think it is very unrealistic to assume that the primary objective when they get into office is to go and make your life easier. No, the primary objective will be first to get dividends on their investment, and they are going to sink their teeth into it and never going to take the teeth away until they've had enough or are even drunk and are unable to get up. So if we think that we can be taking their money, take their money, well, something you also have to get the results, because those guys are cleverer than we are. We can say that they are fools, they are idiots, but my brother, they are cleverer than we are. The politician has objective A, objective B, objective C, plan A, plan B, up to Q. You only have one plan. The politician has so many. And they've been able to trick us. As I said earlier, I do not think Western-style democracy will deliver the dividends we desire. I don't think so.
Well, there have been those who have argued that the only way out is wholesale review of our constitution. There have been that strident argument. We'll return to regionalism. Some have said we go back to states, and all the rest.
Regionalism, and as fantastic as it was for us in those days, we must also remember, didn't fix every problem. There isn't one constitution that fixes every problem. And there is also the assumption that once you review a constitution, then things begin to go very swimmingly. The implementation of the Constitution, if no fidelity is shown to the implementation, I'm not opposed to greater devolution, you understand? But with the way we are, with the mindset we have, give more money to the federating units, they can really go crazy. Believe me. The governor thinks that, I'll give you an example. South Sudan became an independent nation a few years ago. And when they wanted to buy vehicles for their government officials, they went to buy some giant SUVs. You know, running a poor state should induce some sobriety. Not for you to be spending like a drunken oligarch, but give more money to these guys. Some guy will simply go to the school of his side chick and donate 600 million instead of the 50 million he's donating. They can do all that. They can do all that. So, yeah, more devolution. There is a chance that states that got, when they introduced 13% derivation, I do not think they have progressed way beyond the way they were when they didn't have that. So, the assumption that once you make more money available to people, they can begin to behave well, I actually think they will freak out. They will freak out. Every state will buy, if it can afford it, a jet for the governor. Even states that cannot conveniently afford it will say, we can't be having my governor go to a meeting of governors and then is flying a commercial plane. Why? You know, it's the roads that will suffer now. It's the schools that will suffer. It's the hospitals that will suffer. And then we are jolly well going to buy this guy a jet.
A jet.
So, yeah, some work need to be done on the Constitution. But let us not deceive ourselves that if you work on the Constitution, it automatically delivers the dividends. If we go into that thing with that kind of mind, the disappointment will be considerably greater than we have now.
Maybe let me just ask on a last note that without actually mentioning individuals and their strengths and weaknesses, what kind of president will you tell Nigerians to look out for in 2023?
Well, from the crowd that I've seen, I actually do not see one that appeals to me. And this is a personal preference. One, maybe three, or even the four leading ones have been in some executive stroke quasi-executive capacity before. And I do not see, I don't remember any one of them delivering a convention challenging performance. That, okay, you got there, disrupted everything, and then some really grand results. You know, easily convenient for us. And it is about the lies they've told us. You find people ascribing powers that these guys don't have to them, abilities that they don't have. They are selling them as once in an age reformers. In their previous positions, what once in an age record did they have? That is the question to ask. So I do not rate any of these people. But what I think the kind of president Nigeria needs is an apostle of new thinking. The president has to be a completely different person who will be willing, of course it takes a lot of work, to tear up whatever we have been doing and begin to reorganize to create a new foundation. If you check, every leader, president, governor in Nigeria who claim to be erecting the foundation for modern Nigeria. We've never moved to DPC level, never to lintel. Is always foundation. The uncomplicated indication of that is that we've made no progress. So we need someone with a clearly different orientation, someone ready to rip up whatever. I don't even think we have a model. Everybody does the same thing the way they've been doing, and all of that, and we are having the same results. The one that I see now, as I said, what once in an age record did they leave behind at their previous post? I do not remember any. Some people may remember many, but I do not. I do not. I honestly do not. So I do not have any hope that the major guys, of course, one of them will win, is the right fit. And I also think that the problems of this country are so deep and are so enormous that it needs a completely different approach. Social cohesion has been thoroughly mismanaged. It's mismanaged. It didn't start from now, but the current government, I think, decided that cohesion does not matter. I'm not saying if you put Southwest people everywhere or Southeast people give them all the appointments available, it will mean that their regions will develop faster or not. But in a way, it gives a veneer of inclusion, and people are less antagonistic towards one another, either fractionally. But the current government has mismanaged that. The current government is not even keen on cohesion. It may pretend to be keen, but it is not. It is not. I'm sorry, it is not. It is not.
Well, it has been nice having you around.
Thank you very much.
And I have enjoyed the discussion and look forward to having you again sometime very soon.
Thank you.
Well, we have been speaking with Mr. Bamidele Johnson in the last couple of minutes. And we hope that some of these have been very beneficial to us as Nigerians as we march on to the next election in 2023. Don't forget that you have been watching Talking Politics with Dotun Oladipo, and we have been collaborating with Newsbreak.ng. Don't also forget that you have the opportunity to contribute to our discussion here, either through a 2-minute video or by sending us an email that is not more than 500 words. Send either of the two to info@theeagleonline.com.ng. I take that again, info@theeagleonline.com.ng. Until we come your way again, do have a pleasant time. Thank you.